little bit of backwards a little bit. This healing happened in 2006. And years ago when my son's father was killed in a really tragic accident when he was young. And he wasn't doing very well. So I ended up staying home from work. I quit my job and stayed home with him for a while to help him get adjusted. And during this time, that's when the Lord drew me in. And I really started just eating the Bible and taking notes and looking up words. And healing was the greatest thing that came to me because my father's side of the family has horrible heart problems. My mother's side had horrible back problems. They called it the eyes and heart back. And I had to quit. I went back to work later on. I had to quit my job in 97. The back on this side, they had taken the MRIs and tested everything, and they showed them to me. Pretty much this side was all gone. I had severe degenerative disc disease. And they said within a few years you're going to have surgery. Well, everybody on my mother's side of the family had back surgery. So, and I saw how they did, and I'm like, God's better than that. So I walked it out. It took 9 years. But the whole time I knew that God was perfecting my faith. I was fairly young in this. And I really believe as I look back that he actually gave me the gift of faith, too, to walk it out as long as I did. I mowed people's yards, I cleaned people's houses, but I didn't work in a factory anymore. I just stayed home, did the other things. But, and I forgot to tell Kathie this the other day when I was texting her. God had kind of put in my heart that the devil was going to test me on all this stuff, but to stand strong, and he was going to get me through it. And I'm like, okay. So the back thing was a problem. I used to walk where I would grind to one side, and you could hear the grinding, and it would hurt. And then right before the manifestation of the healing, about 2 weeks before that, my one arm went numb and cold. And then I started having problems with my heart, my chest. I couldn't lay down in a bed anymore. I kept a vigil in a rocking recliner for about 10 days to 2 weeks. Joe was even afraid to go to work. I think he thought I was going to be dead when he got home. I kept saying, no, I know the Lord's taken me through this. I know I'll get over it. And I sat in that rocking chair, and I prayed every day while he was at work. And one day the phone rang, and I got up. And as soon as I stood up, I started crying because my whole body was sound. I've never had a problem with my back again. And I've never had a problem with my heart again. So I thank God for all of that. He's really good. He's really faithful. And another thing Kathie asked me to share, because sometimes I'm dancing, even the Lord has to kind of paraphrase his own word to me. One of my favorite scriptures is, for this was the Son of God manifest, that he would destroy the works of the evil one. And he said, Jeannie, that means I am the destroyer of the destroyer, that he will destroy him. And that has struck my heart, and that I keep a hold of all the time, because I know he's going to do that. He's going to destroy the destroyer.
Amen. What a great way to look at it. Amy, you ready?
I've shared this before, but it came up in my heart Thursday night during prayer to share it again. In 2007, is this better? This, okay. In 2017, my dad had a massive heart attack. They took him to Elkhart Hospital. He gave him zero chance of survival. Everything was blocked. There was no surgery. They couldn't do surgery, nothing. All of his friends and relatives saw him. He was hooked up to everything. You know how it is. He was supposed to go to Fort Wayne. They were going to fly him to Fort Wayne when he first had his heart attack. But there was a storm, like one of those quick pop-up storms that came through, and they couldn't fly him. So they brought him to Elkhart, which is all his surrounding family lives in Elkhart. So they all got to see him. They all got to see how bad he was. And they would come in and out. He was in there for 5 days, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, Larry doesn't look so good. He's not looking good. And I'm like, thanks, you know. So it got to the point to where they had him on a heart pump, and they were going to take that off. They said you can only be on it for so long. And so Friday morning, they were taking him off. And we got there early, 7 a.m. they were going to do it. We get there. Well, the doctor had emergency surgery, so they waited. So in the process of this, the nurse had taken him off all sedation, and they had tried taking him off sedation earlier in the week and even the night before. And he responded a little bit, but they're like, that's not enough. You know, it's not enough. His brain is damaged. There's too much damage. So we all were saying our goodbyes on Thursday night. And then Friday morning, like I said, the doctor had surgery, so they left him on the heart pump. So the nurse took him off all sedation. Didn't ask anybody, didn't tell anybody, just did it. Well, by 9 o'clock that morning, when I went in to see him a couple hours later, I was like rubbing his foot, you know. And, I was holding his hand and rubbing his foot. And all of a sudden, his hand is like squeezing mine, squeezing it. I'm like, finally, he's like, this. And I was like, what, you know? I said, does that hurt when I rub your foot? And he nodded, and I was like, holy smokes, what is going on here? You know, he wasn't like that last night. And so when people would come in, he knew them. By 10 o'clock, instead of taking the heart pump off, they came out to us and said, we're flying him down to IU Medical Center in Indy. So we're like, okay, good deal. You know, everybody's excited. So we get down there. Well, you know how it goes. You get good news and you get bad news. So by Sunday, he was really bad again, to the point to where they didn't think, you know. I mean, nobody, honestly, I think, thought he would live. I heard the doctors in the hallway talking to his student doctors, and he's like, yeah, this poor guy, there's just nothing we can do for him. And I was like, I can hear you. So on Sunday, it was bad, and obviously we're all praying, obviously. But I got out in the courtyard by myself, and what do? You know, there's nothing you can do. And God's like, I need you to believe. And I said, we're believing. He's like, no, I need you to believe. It's like, okay, but then you're going to have to show me every day, little by little, you know? And he did. He did just that. His kidneys failed. He was on dialysis for, 3 or 4 weeks. Kidney doctor said, you'll always be on dialysis. My dad, of course, he's like, if I got to always be on dialysis, I don't want to, you know, that's awful. He comes in, 2 weeks later? I don't know, I've never seen anything like it, but you don't need dialysis anymore. And they'd even put in the permanent port. They were that sure. So, you know, it's little by little. He was in there for 4 months, and he came home. He never had surgery. There was no surgery to do. They couldn't help him. So I just want to thank God we overcome by the word of our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. And it just seemed right to share that even when they say no chance, keep after it, keep fighting. Don't let that stop you. Right? Amen.
Anybody else have a testimony? I'll put this on you.
Okay.
Come right back here. I think that'll be good.
Okay, mine's more or less on the Lord, a flight of stairs, and me. My wife's mom, she had heart surgery, and she lived on apartment on the upstairs, 10-foot ceilings both down and up, and they told her afterwards she had to go to a apartment downstairs. So she went to assisted living for a while. And after that, they told her if she wanted to go home, she could if she found a downstairs apartment. So she did. And we were cleaning out the apartment upstairs, and some of it went to the house, some went to junk, and some went to her house. And I started carrying a box down, just had a few pillows and blankets in it. And then on her staircase upstairs, it had about 4 steps that way. Then it made a turn, a whole mess the other way, and then it made another turn down. Well, up above, when it made that turn, the steps got narrower on the first 2. And I hit that step just wrong, and I'd probably been on that step 1,000 times over the years. And I knew I was going down because I couldn't get to the railing quick enough. The only thing I could think of, I said, Jesus, you're either going to be with me or this isn't going to be good. And by the time I said that, my head had already hit the bottom. And I somersaulted twice over it, head over heels. I knew it was twice because I never lost consciousness. I could see the ceiling both times. And by the time I got down there, no pain, no nothing. And I looked up. My one foot was up on the stairs. My other foot was way over this way. And my shoe, one of them was up there, and a whole mess of scuff marks. And I know I hit my head hard both times. So I got up, or tried to get up, and I thought, well, at least there's no pain or nothing. Managed to get my other leg back around, and I got up and got up to the banister. I walked down the last 4 steps to see if I could walk, and then back up. By the time I got up there, I mean, I had no pain, no nothing. And the only way I can explain that, he either healed me on the way down or he just held me. But I hit everything hard. I could hear it. And after I got up, I thought, okay, nobody heard this, I guess. Then I heard it from upstairs. He said, what was that noise? I said, nothing. She said, you better not have fell down them steps. Because that's the first thing she told me when I started to go down. I said, yeah, I took the quick way down. But I said, there's no pain, no nothing. And I said, it's a good thing Jesus was with me. And I give him all the praise and the glory.
Amen.
That's about it.
Amen. Yeah, I'll put it on.
My contacts are in, so I can't see very well.
Oh, okay. There.
So, my name's Aubrey. No, most of you know me. But anyway, this happened 3 weeks ago. I contemplated texting Kathie. I never did. Fear stopped me from doing it. I sat here in fear. I'm thinking, I'm not going to say anything. You know, it's just fear. I kept saying, God, you got to give me some peace, you know, because I get a little sweaty, a little nervous. So then I just got some peace, so I thought it's right to share. So my testimony is just this. 3 weeks ago, I was driving to work. I drove by this house. I knew the gentleman who lived there growing up. We went to school together. His name was Mark. And I started thinking of him. I'm like, Mark, what's your last name? And I could not think of his last name. So I'm driving. And it sounds strange, but for like 15 minutes to work, I'm like, what in the world was his last name? I get to work, half of the day goes by, I'm still thinking, what was Mark's last name? I have no idea. So then it dawned on me. I said, God, you care about what I care about. This seems silly. I said, what was this guy's last name? I said, just tell me. He said, Snyder. I said, and it was the biggest thing for me. I'm like, and then God's like, you know, I care about what you care about. And I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. So I got home, I told my family about it. It seemed like a big deal to me. You know, and I was like ecstatic, like this is really cool. You know, this guy's last name. So then the next day, God told me that morning, I woke up, he said, you just keep me in a box. He's like, that's what people do. You don't think that I care about a guy's last name, you know. It reminded me years and years and years ago when I went to school, or to church close to where I lived. We were singing a song, you know, Jesus on the main line, tell them what you want. I was there, I was really believing, I was worshiping. I'm like, I don't want to go bald. I'm going bald. I don't want to go bald. And someone that was in there said, they thought I was making a mockery of it. And it kind of hurt my faith for a little while. And I was like, no. And so to this day, it's been many, many years. I still have some hair. I wear a hat because I got some fear. But my hair is going to come back, you know. Just like I knew that guy's name, God showed me that. God, I think that we keep God in this little box. When I hear these big, you know, testimonies and these big healings and these big things, it's encouraging to me, but I also want to encourage myself and everyone else. There's little things out there, and you've shared many stories at your lows and things like that. That's awesome, you know. I think we all need that. And that little bit of hope, that little bit of whatever, it grows. So that's my story.